Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another edition of the Opposition Preview. Apologies, guys. We've been pretty slack with these over the second half of the season, but had to be done. We had to bring it back for the big one. What do you call it, mate? The world famous City Ground. There's going to be a Champions League showdown. Chelsea must beat Nottingham Forest to guarantee their place in the top five. And Forest, with a win themselves, depending if results go their way, could still maybe make the Champions League. And of course, we had to bring everybody's favourite Forest fan back to the channel to look forward to this one. Wolfie, brother, how you doing? You good?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Just let's fast forward to 6 p.m. Sunday because I got no idea what's happening.
No, I hear you, bro. I'm not really too sure what to expect. But yeah, there's going to be plenty of twists and turns, like has been the case throughout this entire season with this race for the top five. Bro, if I spoke to you at the start of the season and I told you on the final day of the season that you could potentially still qualify for the Champions League, you probably would have called me all sorts. I mean, I know this season has been, well, I say exceptional for Forest. I know perhaps when you're sitting in the top three, top four for the majority of the season and you slightly drop off, it's obviously disappointing. But if you take a step back and look at it from expectations at the start of the season, you still got to be pretty happy with this, right?
Yeah, I think both things can be true at the same time. At the start of the season, any Europe is sensational for Forest, but expectations change throughout the season. And when you're 10 points clear, I think it was the sixth place. I think we were 7 or 8 points clear of fourth. Then I think it's a bottle. You don't get yourself into that position and then mess up against the likes of Leicester and Everton and Brentford at home. Any one of those converts into probably the Leicester one, mate. 2-1 up would have 2 extra points, and a draw or a win would have guaranteed us going into this match.
Yeah,
So
I mean, 2 extra points, mate. You're on
you'd be
65
third.
right now. Yeah, you'd be third with 67. So you'd be a point ahead of us, Newcastle, and
Yeah,
Villa.
exactly. So I think
But
both
then,
can be true at the same
yeah,
time. There's some Forest fans that find that language a bit too emotive for them. I don't really care. I just kind of see it as I say it. But once you get to the end of the season, depending where the cookie crumbles kind of thing, you guaranteed Europe. That's a good season. Way above expectation. But I've said this before, it's like you almost would have preferred it if you did a late run to break into the position we're in, if that makes sense,
yeah,
rather than drop from where we were to where we are.
yeah. No,
Like that would have
I hear
felt
you.
like momentum was on it, you're kind of riding the wave and what have you. This way around, just it's not disappointing, it's too strong a word. It's just a case of this should have been a dead rubber and we could have given you 3 points on this.
Yeah. Do you know what's mad, right? When you look at the table, like only Liverpool and Newcastle have won more games than Chelsea and Forest this
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
And then I'm sort of thinking, and then I look at Chelsea, right? We've lost 9 games this season. You've lost 10. Only Liverpool and Arsenal have lost less games than Chelsea, right? And we're sort of apparently having a disastrous season, as it were. It just goes to show how mad the league's been this season in terms of inconsistencies and in terms of, obviously, Liverpool have been great, but in terms of, the drop off from everyone else. And you sort of feel like, I know Forest have kind of taken advantage of the status quo as such, not being there with United and Spurs obviously dropping off massively. Forest have taken advantage of that and put themselves in there. But you almost feel like for a Chelsea or for a Forest or for a Villa or someone like that, there was a real opportunity to do something special. I'm not saying that Forest getting Europe's not special, but you know what I mean. Like second
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
second place for me, and not that second place is amazing or anything, because if you're not first, then it's kind of irrelevant. But
First to the
do you know what I
losers, yeah.
mean? Second place was there for the taking, and like genuinely speaking, we could have finished runners up, and I think you could have finished runners up as well.
I think we should have. We shouldn't have drawn with Everton. We shouldn't have lost, sorry, to Everton. We shouldn't
Yeah,
have lost to Leicester. Drew. It felt like a loss. And Arsenal's drop off while they were focusing on, winning their Real Madrid trophy, you could see they just completely lost their way in the Premier League. So it was there to be had. Look, does second to fifth make a difference? Not really. It's just about, bragging rights and what have you. The prize is still the same. But yeah, it was open for it. I don't know if I buy this notion the league isn't as strong as it was. I would say that the bottom three are so bad that it's made everyone else who's there's too many teams that have nothing to play for. That's been the issue probably since February, maybe even January. So you're getting teams like United and Spurs who through the league, focusing on Europa League, knowing there's no chance they go down. You then had teams like Palace going for a run in the FA Cup, and then all those other little teams in between, your Bournemouths, your Brentfords, etc., just kind of doing what they're doing. And it just feels like there's been too many games, especially in the last 2 to 3 months, where only one team's playing for something, but they're not necessarily winning it over. So
yeah, no, it's definitely it's interesting in that sense, and I guess it's kind of the fact that this race for the top 5 is probably the closest in recent history is like obviously it's something to focus on, but also it's kind of saved the season a little bit because there's been no title race and there's been no battle for relegation whatsoever. Like if this was sewn up weeks and weeks ago, this probably would have been a season. Obviously, if you're a Liverpool fan, it's not a season to forget. But generally speaking, for the Premier League as a whole, if this wasn't going on, then this season is one to quickly move on from and quickly forget about. But I mean, in terms of Forest, mate, obviously you play. Obviously, I don't want to call it a unique style of football, but you're very happy to have next to none of the ball. But when you do get it, you're very efficient with it. You defend very well. Milinkovic and Murillo have been an outstanding partnership. Sells has been brilliant in goal. Across the whole pitch, Forest have performed to an outstanding standard. Why do you think it's fallen away these last few weeks? Do you think that's down to lack of quality, lack of experience, or just not being able to deal with the pressure?
2 things, maybe even 3 things. I think the significant thing is the teams we've come up against. So your Evertons, your Brentfords, etc., who are low possession teams. Palace as well. I'd chuck them in there. Where Forest have preferred not to have the ball, as you rightly mentioned there. Brentford, when we lost to Brentford 2-0 at home, we had more possession than them. And we just don't know how to break these teams down if they're sitting in their own half. Where we excel is where there's kind of grass in behind the defense and we can hit them with the pace of Elanga, Gibbs White, etc. On the counter. So I almost feel like some teams have started to adapt their style against Forest. We also picked up some injuries because we didn't strengthen in January, not to my liking at least. And the squad was getting thin. Einar being injured was a huge loss for us. And there's no surprise that those results dipped while he was out. And there's been some kind of bozo moments, bro. Like mistakes made from players you don't expect mistakes from, that cost you a point or two here and there. Has the pressure got to them? I think that has something to do with it because Nuno significantly was saying game by game, next game, next game, next game. And about 6-7 weeks ago was when he started to talk about we could do something big here. We are kind of in the Champions League race, etc. And once his rhetoric changed, so did the style. It went from being counter-attacking, kind of a mid-block, to a full-on low block, punt the ball forward and hope for the best. Now, we saw that change finally against West Ham last week. And I think the key change there was Sangare coming back into the team, who hasn't had a run in the team. And we finally got a midfielder who can get his foot on the ball and actually pass it forward and not look to play it back to the defense or the goalkeeper to then long ball it upfield. So I think he's had a real impact on the team in the last 3 weeks. And I think coming up against your boys, it probably suits us because I would expect you guys to want possession to play on the front foot. You do technically need a win. And that probably suits Forest more than playing in Everton or a Brentford or a Bournemouth or another low possession team. So this one's interesting, man. This one's going to be very interesting.
I mean, before we get to the game, I just want to touch on the gaffer. Obviously, Nuno come in, replaced Steve Cooper. He's done an absolutely outstanding job. However, there have been reports this week that he could be he could be on his way out at the end of the season. Perhaps disagreements behind the scenes with Marinakis. I'm not sure whether it's linked to what happened after the Leicester game or not. People can have whatever view on that they want, but reports of potentially interest from Roma. That seems to be the latest one, but there have been reports linking in maybe with a return to Saudi Arabia and whatnot.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this? Obviously, he's done an exceptional job. I'm sure maybe you'd be happy for him to stay, but if there was an upgrade available, what would you be saying? But I guess just, thoughts on Nuno and these reports coming out saying that he could well leave at the end of the season.
I don't mind my manager or players being linked to moves away, because that's a reflection on what they've done throughout the season. So if your players aren't being linked with elsewhere, with so-called bigger clubs, then it kind of tells you what type of season you've had. Obviously, all these reports coming out about Nuno and Roma and what have you. Speculation for me at the moment. He's still got a year left on his contract. Forest are probably talking to him about extending it. But if he goes, he goes. I always will put my club ahead of any player or any manager. And I have full faith in Marinakis. Just like when I wanted Cooper out, I knew Marinakis would get the appointment right after it. And he did. And we kicked on a hell of a lot from when Cooper left. So do I want Nuno to go? No, he's done an amazing job. I think he deserves to be allowed to put a squad together this summer to either attack the Champions League or the Europa League or whatever it ends up being. It'll be some form of Europe, because he's earned that. Because as you rightly said at the start, the expectations at the start of the season are not the expectations we have now. So what will happen, mate. But like, managers' shelf lives anywhere, on average 18 to 24 months in the Premier League. So never get too attached to a manager. I just stay attached to the club.
Mate, if I had to push you for an answer, yes or no, do you think he'll be here next season?
He'll be here.
He'll be here. Fair. Yeah. I think both of it. I think all options are definitely still on the table. Let's throw it ahead to the game then, mate. You obviously touched on your boys haven't played so well in recent weeks. Massive win against West Ham. I do agree that playing us will probably suit you more. We like to have a lot of the ball, a lot of possession, be methodical with our build-up play, try and pick those intricate passes at those key moments. But I have to be honest, yes, obviously you in not as good a form as you were earlier in the season obviously gives me a bit more confidence. We have improved our form in recent weeks. But again, away from home, we haven't got a good record. We've won once away from home in 2025. And I think we've only taken more points than Southampton and Leicester on the road this year, which is pretty poor. Intimidating atmosphere. Fans going to be bang up for it as your final game of the season. This could be this is definitely a potential banana skin for us. I mean, what have you made of Chelsea so far this season? Obviously, we started really well. It's very much a season of two halves. Potential talk of the title in the first half of the season, and then since Christmas, lack of investment in January, and we've really obviously suffered with that. But how are you feeling about Chelsea coming to town? Obviously, had a cracking game last season, 3-2 in the end. Are you seeing something similar, or are you seeing maybe something a bit more cagey because of what's at stake?
It's a tough one, man. I mean, on Chelsea, I had you down as second at the start of the season. I had Liverpool to win it, and you second, and I think you could have finished second, as we discussed earlier on. So I don't think that's an outlandish kind of prediction from myself. I just don't think you've been consistent enough in the second half of the season. I really don't, and I see consistency from a couple of players. Cucurella has been fantastic for you, left back. I think Casado has been brilliant, and Lavia, when he's fit, has been outstanding for me. I still think defensively you can look shaky. Your keeper, we've talked about before, is an issue, although I would say he hasn't had too many bozo moments that I can think of in the last few weeks.
Oh, well, he's due one then. He's due one.
Maybe. He actually had a good game against Forest when we played you at Stamford. Both keepers did.
Yeah, both keepers were exceptional,
Yeah. So where I still think you're lacking is a balance up front. You haven't got Jackson. So I don't know what you do. Do you go Neto as a false nine or something like that? And I just feel like at this stage of the season, you would expect Maresca, barring the injuries, to have some kind of consistency in what he's doing. Madueke, I see, he's moved out to the left now. I think he actually looks better on the left. But I still think there's been too much tinkering And I think that tinkering has caused inconsistencies throughout the second part of the season. But the nucleus is there. And I wouldn't be sacking Maresca if I was in charge of Chelsea next season, even if you do miss out on Champions League. I think this guy has something about him. He's very methodical in the way he conducts training. I was watching him quite a bit at Leicester, and the way he just got like everyone to the T, to the inch. This is how you play your system, or what have you. I don't think he's got that message through to your players as quickly as he did at Leicester. Obviously, that was at a lower level. But in general, you should be disappointed if you don't get top five. It was
Right.
there for the taking. It should have been wrapped up like ourselves many weeks ago. But overall, it's just you've kind of played into the narrative of you've been part of the reason why it's been a weird season
Yeah, no,
because most teams have been inconsistent.
yeah,
And what I just said there, you could change that name to Arsenal, you could change it to Forest,
yeah.
you could change it to Man City.
Villa,
There's just been
Newcastle,
too much
all. Yeah,
inconsistency.
I mean, you look at results and you sort of think 2-2 at home against Ipswich
Ipswich,
a few weeks back. Like you sort
and
of
you
that's a
lost
game you'd
away.
have that's a game you'd have down to win, right? So you'd be on +2 and you're on 68 points, and suddenly we're third with a 3-point buffer
Beat
and a
them
better
away as well, mate. You should,
and we lost against them away. Like, yeah, that all those teams can point out to moments like that throughout the season. It's not just Chelsea, it's not just Forest. All of those teams
Yep,
can. But I
agreed.
agree, we've lacked the consistency. The recruitment has let us down as well. If we'd signed a striker in the summer or signed
Yeah,
reinforcements in January, we're not sitting here having this conversation about we must win this game to qualify for the Champions League because we would already be there. I'd even
yep,
almost say if Romeo Lavia had been fit for 3/4 of the season, I think we're in a much stronger position and we're probably not needing to win the final game of the season to get in the Champions League. But at the end of the day, it's all ifs and buts and it's irrelevant because those things didn't happen and this is where we are. But in terms, how do you see the game going, mate? Because obviously, is Hudson-Odoi back?
yeah,
There's
he's
been a
back.
few injuries. He's back. You've got a decent front line. Chris Wood's got 20 Premier League goals. Hudson-Odoi, Elanga. The defense is brilliant. The goalkeeper and the two centre backs. Particularly with no striker, I think we are going to find it difficult to break Forest down. But yeah, how do you see this one going? Do you think you're going to go for it? Do you think you'll sit deep,
Yeah,
sit
this
tight,
is the
wait for us?
million-dollar question, bro.
You think you'll sit off, wait for us to come on to you? Because realistically, both if we want to finish in the Champions League, both of us need to win. Obviously, a win guarantees us. A win, you need results elsewhere. But this is a game both teams have to win.
Yeah, this is must win. And, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. Had you beaten Newcastle and had we beaten Leicester, for example, we could have gone into this game and just passed the ball around on the halfway line and both teams would have qualified. That scenario hasn't
Yeah,
played out, and we're in a position where both need to go out and win. I still don't think we do that. I think we will sit compact and tight for the first 30, 35 minutes and just see if any opportunities present themselves to us. I don't expect Nuno to change his philosophy, even though we need a win. The worst thing that can happen in this game is a draw. I think a draw is almost an impossibility. I know it's not, but you know what I'm saying, because
yeah.
of the scenario of both teams needing to win.
Doesn't suit anyone a draw. A draw is
Doesn't suit
useful for both
anyone
teams. Yeah.
exactly. Like we cannot get into Champions League with a draw. Therefore, a draw we may as well lose. Do
I
you know what
mean,
I mean?
we could. I mean, it's possible we could get in with a draw, but again, we'd be relying on 2 or 3 results elsewhere. And when you start doing that, you
Yeah.
might as well forget it.
Yeah, I mean, the only scenario is if Man City have lost both their games and Man U beat Villa, then a
Yeah,
draw would leapfrog us over Villa on goal difference. So
yeah,
there is a very 2% chance of a draw being enough. I can't see it. It's too risky. So I think we sit off. We try and hold out for 0-0 approaching half time. And then the changes probably come in terms of we have to become more attacking in the second half if we're not in front. If you take the early lead, I guarantee you Nuno still doesn't change. He'll still hold out to half time if it's 1-0 or what have you to yourselves. So I think the key to this game is going to be those final 15, 20 minutes.
yeah,
That's when the shackles will come off. That's when it could turn into a basketball match. And mate, I can't call it. I think the best way Forest win this is if they do sit off and hit you in the first
yeah.
half. if we go 1-0 up in that first half,
No, we've got a
don't be
problem.
surprised if he subs on Morato and changes it to a back 3, 10 minutes into the game and tries to lock it down.
Bro, if we go 1 down early, we've got a problem because the Forest ground is, it's intimidating to go to. The atmosphere is going to be rocking on the final day. This young group have shown at times that they've struggled to deal with pressure and big atmospheres. And going down a goal early, similar like when you go to St James's Park, you don't want to go down early. Same with this game. The worst thing for us is to go a goal down early on. Now, of course, you don't want to go a goal down with 5 minutes left. I get it if you go a goal down early, you've got time to get back in the game. But in terms of setting the tempo of the game, the tone, your game plan and whatnot, if you're 1 down in the first 5-10 minutes, then there's so much pressure on you to come out and try and rectify that. I'm the same as you. Like I could see this going either way. It's really difficult to call. I would be very surprised if it was a draw just because of both teams needing to win. But I think it's going to be nervy. I think it's going to be cagey, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if it's goalless or 1-1 or whatever going into that final 10-15 minutes. Is someone going to be brave enough to throw men forward and go for the win? And then you could leave space in behind. Then you've definitely got players that can hit on the counter attack with the Langers and Hudson-Odois and that kind of pace, Gibbs White and whatnot. And we have those players as well who, if there's space left in behind, we can exploit. So whilst I expect it to be a bit nervy and stuff, it's also got the potential to explode into life depending on the situation as we get to the latter stages. I mean, it's...
You get me nervous just talking about it,
bro. I know, mate, it is nervy, and it seems ridiculous.
Because there's so many scenarios, Charlie. Like it just when you sit down and look at them, we think, well, if this happens, that happens, this could happen, and that could happen, and you're like, you know what? I don't even. It's just not worth the energy to look through all these scenarios. Like I've simplified it best I can to my channel, saying Forest need to win and one other team need to fuck up. Like that's our scenario. Yeah, that gets us Champions League. Whereas you've got a few more outs because a draw technically could see you through.
Enough,
but a win guarantees you. Do you know what I mean? So the fate is in your own hands.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm either going to be leaving Nottingham delighted, or it's going to be very, very depressing and disappointed. And then
you end up in Hooters, and you'll feel a little better.
Yeah, and then we're off to Rocklaw on Tuesday. So there we go. That'll be interesting. But mate, I know we've just said we're not really sure how it goes, but score prediction. If you have to give me one, what are you thinking?
I'll tell you what my dream scenario would be. I don't know the score prediction. I mean, I wouldn't anyway. If I did, I'd be a lot richer.
Yeah.
Einar crosses hits across from the right hand side. It comes to Hudson-Odoi on the left hand side, edge of the box. Cuts inside, top corner, 89th minute. Yeah, that's the Chelsea connection there for you.
The thing is, like you say that, I wouldn't even be surprised if Hudson-Odoi would score the goal that costs that knocks Chelsea out of the Champions League. I could see it happening. I am going to back us. I think we can win this 2-1, but I think that's maybe a bit more perhaps hope than expectation, but I think we can nick a 2-1 here. But it's gonna rely on us to go. I think we have to go a goal up. If we go a goal down, I would struggle to see us scoring twice personally. But we'll wait and see, mate. Thank you so much for your time as always. If the people don't know where you're at, let them know.
Yeah, over on Forest Fan TV on YouTube, so check it out. Charlie's gonna be there on Friday for a live 6 p.m. while we really thrash out in those final hours with the other contenders, how the tables cards will land. And I'm crapping myself, bro.
Yeah.
How have both our teams let it come to a semi shootout on the final day?
I'm not really sure how it's come to this, but we're here. And
is there a way we both qualify?
No, I don't think so. No.
Is that draw as long as Man City have lost both their games?
I reckon, literally. I think the only way that could potentially happen is if Man City lose both their games and Villa lose as well, or something like that. Yeah. So we're looking at improbabilities here. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to Wolfie. Loads of great content over on Forest Fan TV. It will be tagged in the title. Smash the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And hopefully Chelsea have got Champions League football to look forward to next season. But yeah, guys, we'll catch you in another one soon.